Now, this shutdown, one of the features of the shutdown is what our next guest calls the casino economy. Kyla Scanlon argues that President Trump has ushered in an economy built on enormous speculation and, yes, risk. Now, that if you look closely, you can discuss some of the bets here, right? Big bets like shutting down the government over healthcare subsidies, right? Maybe rolling the dice on massive spending on AI data centers. Tariffs as trade policy. Again, more risk, shuffling the deck and seeing which cards get dealt to whom. And of course, getting back to the chips, the proliferation of meme coins, stable coins, and all of the digital coins. Kyla Scanlon is an author and an economic commentator. Her book is called In the Economy: How Money and Markets Really Work. Pardon me, in this economy. And Kyla joins us now. You make some alarming observations about what you say a casino economy looks like. And let's go through that. That Donald Trump has ushered in, as we said, a casino economy built on speculation and risk. And that this is key here, that the public sector as a stabilizer has been destroyed. That the private sector is now gambling, right? Gambling with the money and trying to cash in. It's quite a gamble. I want to ask you what your proof is. What proof do you have that backs up your thesis?
Yeah, so in the article, I provide, links and data to back up the thesis, but it really is just the proliferation of these various aspects of gambling. So if you think about the tariffs, like obviously that has been an attempt to leverage other countries to do things that we want, while assuming that they're still going to want to be our trading partners. You're seeing a lot of venture capital firms start to invest in companies that encourage certain types of gambling behaviors. Private equity is doing its own gambling thing as well. The tech giants, AI is sort of a giant bet on the economy, as well as being the entire economy at the moment. It's 75% of the S&P 500 earnings growth, as well as 40% of GDP growth. And so we really are just seeing aspects of gigantic bets on pretty much everything you can bet on. And that's nothing new, but the Trump administration has really enabled a lot of this stuff to proliferate in a pretty unprecedented way.
And if we get to the second part of this, the government is supposed to be the great stabilizer, as you say. And like you said, there's a cruel logic to this casino economy. Can you unpack that for us?
Yeah, I mean, I think the logic is it's not always fair. Like the way that you can sort of think about it is it's pretty systemic. So the risk is privatized upwards. So corporate gains and speculative capital, like a lot of people are making a lot of money off of the AI bets. A lot of people are making a lot of money on the companies that the administration is investing in, like Intel. But the losses are socialized. And so workers and taxpayers are ultimately going to be footing the bill for these gambles if they do go wrong, and ultimately they probably will. And so that's kind of the cruel logic of it, is that we're betting on all of these things so some people can make a little bit of money, and the cost is going to be borne by those who can afford it the least.
Yeah, and a lot of people did not bargain on being in a casino economy in the first place, didn't want to set foot in it, and yet a lot of their 401ks, their retirement plans, are held captive to it. I do want to go through the three scenarios that you lay out, especially if this continues undaunted, right? Like, first is that, maybe nothing happens. Maybe this is actually going to be okay and things will settle out. Then you come up with the slow burn scenario, right? That things unravel before anyone really notices. But then what we have is economic stagnation. And then the third thing you point out is the nightmare bus scenario. And I don't need to describe that to anyone right now. Everyone knows what that looks like. What do you believe is most likely when you see it now?
I mean, it depends on what we see with regulation. Unfortunately, with bubbles, like especially with regards to AI and some aspects of maybe what we're seeing with prediction markets and sports gambling, like the only way out of that is if they kind of implode amongst themselves, which is terrible, and we don't want that to happen. But I think because we haven't really seen any policies be put forth in order to rein some of this speculation and some of this irrational exuberance, I do worry that we are staring down a worst case scenario. A lot of people are speculating that could happen with the AI bubble that we're currently in now. A lot of think pieces have been written about that. And so I'm very hopeful that everything lands smoothly. But I think just because there's nothing stopping this, we could see a worst case scenario.
And Kyla, I want to ask you, because I really do think you've distilled something here and tapped into something that people are feeling. They do feel that everything that's going on right now is a bit reckless, to use another term. But I do want to ask you, because the other analogy you could use is that it's like a storm coming. Well, we shouldn't act like sitting ducks, right? If that's what happens. If a storm's coming, you prepare, right? You mitigate. You do what you can to get out of its way, maybe. So what do you think can be done there? Because I'm not sure, that the analogy works when people just feel helpless.
Yeah, I mean, that's the exact opposite of what you want people to feel. And I think that's a feeling that is really proliferating right now, is sort of financial nihilism. So people not believing that they have a path forward with the economy and or the stock market. And so I think like the way that you can sort of develop agency around everything, feeling very much like a casino, is taking control of your own personal finances. So if you do invest, trying to diversify as much as you can, invest internationally if that feels comfortable to you, invest in things like gold, invest outside of the tech sector. There are ways to broaden your portfolios so you have a bit of more legs to stand on if everything does go a little bit wobbly. And then there's a lot of value too during a time of AI, which is sort of challenging, jobs and what humans are potentially wanting to do with their lives, and investing in your human capital. So investing in new skill sets, investing in your community. So I think there's a lot of things that we can do to kind of combat some of the feelings that a casino economy might create and reestablish some of that agency. But it's difficult. It's a tough feeling to have to grapple with.
Yeah, and the bottom line, as many people have pointed to on the show, is supposed to be regulation in the public sector, and we do not see a lot of movement on that right now. Kyla Scanlon, I have to leave it there.
No.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it.